Hello, my name is Tanner, and my parents left me to die. I don't remember much of my childhood. I just know we didn't have much. I think we lived in a camper or motorhome. The only other thing I know was that my parents did drugs. I cleaned for them and cooked when there was something to make. I just followed the directions and tried my best, but it was never enough. I was old enough to understand what was happening back then. But they were my parents. Every waking moment of their lives was spent in search of their next high. A little kid they had to take care of was anything but a high. To them, I was a pothole in the road that needed to be avoided, or an inconvenience they didn't know how to get rid of. Going into elementary school, they didn't seem very interested in me, but I never imagined they'd actually do something like this. Now I know you can never underestimate how badly someone can want something, especially drugs. Hardcore substances were their world. I was not. One day, when I got home, my parents told me we were going to a fair. We piled into our rundown, tiny car, and our last evening began. In my defense, it was fall, and we'd never done anything like that, so I hoped it would be fun. Maybe they were trying to be better, you know? Maybe this was the first moment of many to come where they might put me first. No, I was still thinking like a kid. We drove for miles and ended up outside the city. At the time, I'd never seen anything outside the area I grew up in. Forests and trees loomed around us, and I was honestly excited. Eventually, we parked near an old building, and I thought the fair must start behind it. I didn't see the lights or the sounds, but I didn't know what to expect. I'd never been to something like this. I'd heard of fairs and saw them in movies, but never in real life. Also, how many people think their parents would actually leave them? My parents neglected me, verbally abused me, and even threw me around a bit, but that was normal to me. What came next, however, was not. It was cold that night, and I was a bit creeped out, but I went with it. Snow mixed with the autumn leaves, and my parents took me inside the unsettling building. Once inside, my mom shined a flashlight in my face, and my dad hit me in the side with an old chair. I couldn't see anything for a second, and the wind smashed right out of me. By the time I realized what happened, I heard their car driving away and going back towards the city, which was miles and miles away. They had left me to die in the cold, fall air. I didn't have a phone since we could never afford one for me, and I was too young. I had a water bottle on me, but no food. I was terrified. My side hurt like crazy. At first, I was in denial. I thought they might come back. I hoped it was all a horrible joke and they would come back at any second. It doesn't make sense, I know, but I was terrified. I didn't know what to do. Eventually, I realized that all I could do was start walking. To me, it was either stay and freeze to death or hope another car came along. Every step was hard to take, and I wasn't sure if I felt anything towards my parents. Honestly, all I really wanted was to never see them again. Thankfully, as the sun was coming up the next day, a car did come along. It was a woman and her best friend. They asked me what I was doing all the way out in the middle of nowhere, and I told them what happened. They seemed unsure until I showed them the bruise along my ribs. I understood their nervousness, but they didn't think twice after that. The two women drove me into the city, and after several hours with the police, I was finally feeling a bit safe again. Several years went by in a blur, but I picked cooking back up. In fact, I came to love it, so much that I eventually became a chef and opened my own restaurant. It took years of patience and practice, but I escaped the darkness of my family. I still have nightmares about that night, but the women who picked me up became like real parents to me. I haven't seen my mother or father since. Hopefully, I never will. They never deserved me or anything I've accomplished. Have you ever been faced with something like this? I hope not. But what do you think you would have done in my situation? Please help raise awareness of these situations and drop a like if this video affected you. Also, please subscribe to the channel. It helps get stories like mine out there so that others can hear them.